Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss everything, every single thing to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and Legendary's portfolio plays. Absolutely cooking at the moment on a great run. Can't wait to discuss everything that's going on in the market and actually some even bigger things. Trump's executive order, Senator Loomis being announced as chair of the Senate Banking Subcommittee on Digital Assets, and some more news from our favorite ETH ecosystem, which is now no longer trading at 3.2 or 3.3K. It is at 3.4K. So that is good stuff. We've also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs, plus a general discussion on market rotations and where liquidity is flowing. So stay tuned for that. I have got with me today Legendary and Bread. They're in the co-host seats. We're ready to get into it, but just a reminder before we get there, friends, nothing that we say here is financial advice, because the market is very risky and we don't know anything for sure. So please proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Friday. It's the 24th of January. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
GM, I'm happy you had a choice and you went to me first. So that feels very nice. Just for a context, Brett, yesterday was just B and me, and B was it was just B and me, and he was doing like his typical intro, and then he was like, "Let's go straight to Legendary," as if he had a choice because I was the only one on stage. All jokes aside, doing pretty well. Excited for the show. Excited for something that we will talk about on the show, which is not a headline, which is not in the Web3 Roundup, but something for the modern market. So I am pretty stoked for today.
Cool. Well, if you're thinking about the thing that I'm thinking about, then I've already tweeted about it.
Yeah, I know, but still excited about that.
Cool. That's fine. Yeah, that's true. You're allowed to be excited about things which have already been tweeted about.
Yeah, it's publicly allowed.
Like the anticipation is over.
Exactly.
Now move on. I thought maybe the news cycle has already passed it. I tweeted it out like 5 minutes ago. Maybe it was over. Okay, good stuff. Good to hear you're excited about that. Bread, how are you doing? It's Friday. It's 24th of January for you. Your setup's looking pretty pro. It's good to have you with the proper mic back. How are you feeling?
We're coming along. We're coming along great. The thing you can't see, and I don't know if he's in the crowd, but Cap, I'm going to make sure that he gets a shout out because I have my balance board. So that's a pure suggestion from Cap. Thank you. Came in last night.
The balance board. What is a balance board?
It's the crown jewel.
Yes. Okay, we're getting a bit of a visual representation here for the people who are listening in.
So okay. I got my standing desk. I got my mic. I got my everything's got a little purple modern market lights going in the background. Ooh. Got my sound dampening on the wall. We're getting better. Some more stuff coming in, but that was for if I'm going to be standing at this fucking thing all day. Some of it will be standing, some of it will be sitting. If you're standing, it's still not good to just be static on some hard ground. So we have a balance board. We can rock back and forth, work that core a little bit, okay, really hone in.
I've got to tell you this before we get into the main stuff. As usual, guys, we're going to get into the headlines and price action in a minute, as we always do. But, we've been revealing a little bit of like modern market strategy over the last few weeks and days. And we like to like be transparent and try to like share the strategy as we go through it. One of the ideas that I had for Legendary, which was top secret up until now, and look, I don't know if we'll ever do this necessarily, but I said to him, look, we've got to get on TikTok, right? We've got to get on TikTok because I'm hearing about this live social shopping thing. And I said, like, look, you love the tech, you love the AI, you love all this stuff. And now you're just doing like the perfect on-camera sale of all of these strange contraptions that you're buying to, What do you think, Brad? Will you be one of my
Web3 QVC is what you're asking me, and I'll do that.
That's exactly what I'm asking you. Will you be one of my Web3 salesmen?
Yeah, done. Lock me in.
All right. I'll run it past Mickey first.
Yeah,
we'll block it out in your timetable. All right, good stuff. Let's get into the main stuff as usual, guys. Starting with the price action. Win the majors. Bitcoin is up 4%, which is pretty good. $105,000. ETH is up 6%, which is even better. I said it was 3.4K. Now it's just dipped under to 3.3K, 3.394. XRP is up 4% as well, still above $3. Solana is up 9%, up to $265. Still, on the last week, Solana's up 20%. That's gross, hugely outperforming all the other majors. Bitcoin's up 3, ETH is flat, XRP's down 3, Solana up 20. So still feeling the strength and the love after the Trump coin launch. I think getting into the other meme coins, we have Dogecoin up 4%. We've got Trump down another 5% to $34. Pepe's up 5%. Pengu's up 4%. Fartcoin's up 6%. Seeing a lot of single-digit up numbers here is the general trend I'm seeing in the last 24 hours. Anything outperforming in particular? I'm wondering if the AI stuff might have done something. GOAT is down another 17% to 28 cents. So that is not good for GOAT holders. Nothing else here is standing out to me, to be honest.
Toshi on base had a big move, up 75%, 228 mil.
It got listed by Coinbase, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what happened there. Good to point out. And then I guess the other big coin, I wouldn't necessarily put it in the meme coin category, but maybe we'll touch on that in the Web3 Roundup. Anime coin obviously dropped yesterday, came out above 1 billion. I think it was as high as 1.5 when it came out, now down at about 700 mil FDV. So, maybe a typical airdrop sell-off. That's the meme coin stuff. Getting into the main headlines, I need to find them today because I'm a little bit more all over the place than I would be usually. Here we go. We've got a bunch of headlines, actually, so I'm looking forward to Legendary. He's going to tie all these things together. We've got Trump signing an executive order to make US the crypto capital of the world. They banned CBDCs. Amongst that, they're going to create a new working group on digital asset markets. And, there's this crypto stockpile that's going to happen. And people kind of debating, is that Bitcoin only? Is that a type of reserve? What's specifically going on there? We'll dive into that a little bit more later. Senator Loomis was announced as the chair of Senate Banking Subcommittee on Digital Assets. CZ actually tweeted straight after saying the US Strategic Bitcoin Reserve pretty much confirmed in relation to that tweet. Crypto moving at crypto speed again. I think CZ is quite liberal with his tweeting there. I don't think he'd necessarily, don't think that's guaranteed confirmation, but he will go out on a limb and say those types of things sometimes. Vitalik publishes post calling for ETH L2s to drive more value back to ETH. Fascinated on that. We've probably been calling for that for a while. Very interested in Bread's breakdown on that a little bit later in the show. And then finally, I don't know if we'll have time to dive into this because there's so much other stuff going on, but the cross-chain swap protocol Thorchain's Rune drops 30% as it's alleged to be insolvent. I'm not sure what part of the cycle we're in where we're starting to see insolvency, but not great. That's where we are there. Some notable sales from around the space. CryptoPunks really selling. I think the floor is up to 40 ETH now. Bunch of sales between 40 and 57 ETH yesterday. Bearachain Boo Bear for 34 ETH. And then some high Azuki Elemental sales before the crash yesterday as well, because the NFTs are down. But talking of NFTs, Legendary, what's going on the NFT side of things?
We are looking at one of the biggest shuffles we've seen in a while, and also one of the most volatile deals we've seen in a while for all of the collections. Pudgy Penguins down another 5%, 18 ETH for them, still leading the charge, followed by Bored Apes. Bored Apes are down almost 7%, 6.7% over the last 24 hours at a 13.9 ETH floor. Then we have Miladies, which again are up 33% over the week, are up another 8% over the last 24 hours, sitting at a 5.5 ETH floor, pulling ahead of Doodles. Doodles basically unchanged over the last week, but also had a strong day yesterday, being up 14% and sitting at a 4.98 ETH floor, so flirting with 5 ETH. And then obviously we have the pretty dramatic look because of the anime TG of the Azuki chart, falling just under 4 ETH, 3.99 ETH floor for that collection, down 70%. Again, looks very dramatic because it had pumped so much over the last 7 days, and down 60% after TG, where it just did jump off a cliff. But again, massive rotation because we have Miladies and Doodles pulling ahead, Miladies being ahead of Doodles, and also something we've seen yesterday straight after the anime TG talking about mercenary capital as an immediate reaction, money moved into Doodles. So it seems like we moved from one pre-TGE JPEG collection to the other.
Damn, you can really get burnt on these potentially. Do we know like what the total value of an Azuki, like a single main Azuki NFT? Do we know roughly what that was by any chance?
No, because the score was so different with all the traits and things
Yes,
that you
of
could
course.
collect, because it was based on your collector score, which then again depended what type of Azuki you got, depended what type of Azuki Elementals family you put together. Plus, because the Hyperliquid Arbitrum was just massively overloaded with the volume, it was also the case that people couldn't claim for a while. Price was obviously moving, so it really depended also a lot not only on your collector score, but also when you actually were able to, claim your tokens, and in case you wanted to sell them.
I'm amazed at how predictable that stuff is. Like predictable in that, like everyone kind of assume that thing. You're like, yeah, of course. Like some people will claim, like claim and then sell. Like, oh yeah, but then like to see how mercenary the mercenary capital is like, it still kind of shocks me occasionally. And like seeing that chart is just like, yeah, like they just straight up like, all right, fuck this. I'm on to the, I'm on to the next thing. Like it's just money, which respect, I guess.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Shout out to Runelord in the YouTube comments saying elementals gave between 1,800 to 3,000 depending on the collector score. I would love to see a breakdown. I suspect Whale might be cooking something up when it comes to like the different collector scores and what each NFT either ended up getting. I think that'd be really interesting to see. Oxy, shout out to Oxy as well, coming in saying beans were around 450 or 550 or so. Obviously, beans being the more entry level NFT into the Azuki ecosystem. Interesting stuff. Getting into the rest of the Web3 roundup to get up to speed with everything else you need to know before we get into the bigger headline stuff today, of which there is a lot to cover. Anime Coin falls rapidly, as we just said, after TGE. Founder of Pump Fund reconfirms ALON is his official coin. Maybe there's multiple of those, so don't go and ape it immediately. Sending it to more than 100 mil. I think it's pulled back a little bit. Legendary did a little tweet here explaining the I guess it's not a cryptic message, but the particular tweet that pushed him into participating in that trade actually from days ago, although the huge pump was today. So interested to hear some perspective there from Legendary. Clout app founder Coin Pasternak sends to as high as 70 million before pullback to 40 mil. This is a cool new app that I'm hearing things about. Like I haven't been on it yet. I don't know much about it, but I'm just hearing things. I'm sensing things on the timeline. Kind of like SocialFi, FriendTech 2.0, something on Solana. Haven't had the time to research it yet, but I think people are having fun there at the moment. So that's something that's interesting to note. Ivanka Trump condemns fake meme coins bearing her name. Binance Labs rebrands to, I can't remember the pronunciation of this, Easy Labs, I guess, YZI Labs, to increase scope of investment to include Web3, AI, and biotech. Saw a funny take, I think, from ICO Beast saying everyone will be really upset now that they can't flex that they've got Binance Labs investing in them, because everyone always leans on that whenever that's that case and assumes that the company is actually going to be good. So no opportunity to lean on the name anymore, which is probably quite good. Bloomberg Opinion, shout out to Confusion. I don't know if he's listening in today, sharing this with me. Bloomberg Opinion publishes fart strategy article on the fart coin flywheel. Like, I don't know what's going on, guys. I think we're, things are developing for sure. And also shout out to Confusion for making this call. I think this fart strategy thing is a DAO or something that's going to buy fart coin. I don't know what's going on, to be honest. Legendary, again, looking towards you maybe in a second to shed some light here if you know. And then finally, on a more concerning note, Ledger co-founder rescued after abduction in Paris. Apology, I was supposed to delete the number because I don't know if the number was definitive. I've put 100 Bitcoin there, as that was like the ransom demand, but I'm not definitely sure if that was correct. But he seems to have been, he seems to be back now. He's not under abduction anymore.
Bro, they cut off a finger?
That's what some people have reported. Yeah, that's what some people have reported. So this was the Ledger co-founder, who I believe does not actually work there anymore. So the CEO was commenting on it, said, it's obviously a traumatic situation. I hope they'll never be repeated to that end, and to continue to protect David and his family's privacy, will not be commenting further. So I don't know if all of the details will properly get confirmed or denied or whatever there, because, you know, when these things happen, you don't want to like give people ideas of what worked or what didn't work and things like that. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but it's a concerning thing when things like that happen. So a bit more somber towards the end though. But that is the roundup to get you up to with everything that we think you need to know in the last 24 hours. With that in mind, before we get into the main stuff, Legendary, fill us in with some of this stuff. I mean, do you want to go to your tweet about the ALON coin and what was going on there? Do you want to shed some light on the fart strategy? Or
let's do all of the above and more. Fart strategy is pretty easy to explain, so let's start with that. Maybe a fart strategy has a simple mission, and it is we buy fart coin like there is no tomorrow. Sharing the website, which is done quite hilariously on screen. Fart strategy vault contains almost 900K. Acquired that at an average cost of $1.35 per fart coin. So clearly taking inspiration from MicroStrategy in its design.
MicroStrategy, fart strategy. I've made.
This is why I also have Michael Saylor here and CZ, because why not? So that's probably the easiest and the shortest one to explain. Heading back, the other one that you mentioned that I also wanted to touch on is clout.
What's the source of the revenue on the fart strategy? Because like obviously Michael Saylor issues debt to like so these guys were like where do they get their money from?
Company that makes money, right?
Yeah, right. Like you need that aspect of it for the strategy to take place. Like where are they issuing like stock for or whatever?
Brett, I think you're thinking about this too much.
Did I go too far? It's literally we're buying fart. Okay, got it.
They're selling, you know, they've got a
in bold letters, make money out of make money out of thick air. That's the mission. Like let's not question the mission with intellectual questions.
You lend against the hot air, which you have already.
And hot air rises. The one that I also wanted to comment in on definitely is Clout app, because I looked at the app this morning and I think the sign up flow to that is interesting. So first of all, you download the app, then you need an email address to sign up with. Then they ask you for your full name, and they also put it in there, make sure that it is your real name, because apparently you cannot just withdraw yet if you deposit Solana on the app, which to me is hinting that there's going to be a KYC process. Again, this is just me speculating based on what I've seen in the sign-up flow. And then the next thing is also a step that you can't skip, is you have to come up with a ticker. So basically, if I, as Legendary, want to sign up, I could either try to put random numbers and letters in there, or I would have to like kind of put my username and put the Legendary ticker, similar to Friendtech, where obviously you have the keys that have been bought. But basically, if you onboard someone prominent and they would use their own name, you have your own ticker, you have your own meme automatically created by that, if you don't choose to like kind of obfuscate your username. So this sign up flow that kind of forces you into launching your own ticker on the app is like, personally, I don't like it because I don't want to have a Legendary ticker.
Yeah.
But I also think it's pretty smart to do it in that way. And for that reason, I want to be on the app and actually want to trade other tickers as well. So kudos to them for coming up with that sign up flow.
Yeah, you got to be able to have them participate. People like that was the thing that like allowed Friendtech to kind of hit escape velocities. You had people on the app doing that shit, but then you had people off the app that were. And if they are doing truly on chain, if this stuff is in contracts, like I could probably buy and sell the coins, speculate on the coins without having to actually sign up on the app myself. But I'm in the same position as Legendary. Like I don't like them explicitly asking me for a ticker would be like, hell no, I'm not doing that. But there are people that would see that and go, hell yeah, I'm doing that because I've always wanted to do that. Now it's easy.
Yeah. So my first question there, Legendary, is is there any way to, so, you know, say you are Legendary, you sign up. Obviously, if you do the ticker Legendary, it'll be even more obvious than it would be otherwise that that's your ticker. However, if you were to choose a different name, is that ticker basically always connected to you in some way, which means that everyone will know it's yours, even if it's not your name?
That I don't know, but also because I chose to not sign up until I figured that out. But we have a helpful commentary in the YouTube comments from Gomzi saying you still have an option not to launch as the team manually approves the tickers apparently. which is something I couldn't figure out, because when I saw I had to input a ticker, this is where I stopped signing up, because I wanted to have more info. Because again, I don't want to launch a token in my name.
Interesting. Interesting stuff. And yeah, shout out to Garang in the comments. He was the person who actually sent me this to say, oh, you got to look at it. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting. I'll put it in the snapshot.
I think I heard that it's coming out of the Alliance DAO accelerator. If I remember correctly, I was listening to a pod with them the other day. They have a couple of SocialFi apps, and that was the one that said it was like on the cusp of coming out, if I'm recalling correctly.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know. I'm definitely in line with all of you. Like, don't want a ticker out there that's just like out of control, right? However, I was thinking the other day, interestingly, I wonder if we're moving towards a point, because there were two headlines. Remember the other day, Brad, where I was like, this is the headline about Ross. Ross is down 50%. Then I was like, this is a headline about Trump. Trump is down 25%. And I wonder if we're moving to a world where every headline is going to have some implication for some ticker. I just felt that the other day, where I was like, oh, I'm writing about this thing. It makes sense to then report on the price of the token. And, to the extent that it's going to, every headline is going to have an important person, an important like crypto protocol or something. These things are so, we already know these things are so intertwined in our space, but it just feels like the person, the personality aspect, the human aspect of it is becoming more. Of course, when we report on something to do with Uniswap and then the token goes down, like you connect those two things, but we've just never really connected humans with their aspect, their part to play in the stories as much as we do now, I think. And that's what I'm feeling at the moment.
My unsexy answer to that is like, of course, because now the incentives are there, right? Like, it's so easy to launch coins, and there's always going to be a hot ball of money looking to speculate on stuff like this. I just think the magnitude will increase and decrease as the risk on appetite increases and decreases with our market, right? We're going to head to a bear. In the bear, there's still going to be these pump fund devs, quote unquote, launching a shit ton of stuff because there's an opportunity to make a couple bucks, and it's cheap, and it's like they have an entire, frankly, infrastructure built up around to be able to do that kind of stuff easily, right? Like, literally, they probably see I would guarantee you that there are scripts out there that look for headlines from key accounts. The second that they see that, they launch. Like, they have a script that launches a coin or does something in that trajectory, right? We've already had algo traders that doing the exact same thing, get an RSS feed, and Gigantic Rebirth GCR was famous for doing that, right? He had a feed that was looking at RSS. He would see news and he would immediately make a trade based on it, right? So that was already happening, and I could see the exact same thing happening, but see the headline or tweet or whatever, and launch a coin, have it ready to go, buy and sell a pump fund thing, whatever.
Yeah, that's where we are, I think. Interesting stuff. Glad we took it in that direction. Legendary. You want to talk about we've got Oxy with his hand raised on stage. Welcome to the stage, my friend Oxy. Been a while since you've been contributing up top. How you doing? What's your contribution here?
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me up. I guess a question on that, though. I wonder what your thoughts are on, like, how, if we're gonna have headlines for or tokens for basically every headline or every event that's happening, and then how people feel about it is kind of contributed to the market cap. How does that play into like a poly market bet, I wonder? Because in theory, that was kind of like the gauge, is like people were putting their money where their mouth is on poly market. Now, is it kind of pivoting away from that to pump funds? I know it's kind of like going back and forth where each one of them had their heyday, so to speak. But I'm curious how that, how they compete with each other. I wonder if that's even like a competition or not really.
My vote is no. Because it's binary outcomes versus like just like general trends, right? Like ones like I say it occasionally. Like you see like events happening, trends on the timeline, whatever that has implications on something, but it's not like a binary thing you could have bet on, right? Like not without some insider information, right? You couldn't have had a market on ALON launching his own coin, right? Like, because you wouldn't have known that he would have done all this stuff. You would have known that like this was coming, so you couldn't set up that poly market thing with a binary outcome of like, will he or won't he? Like, not easily. You probably could, but like you'd have to have a lot of shots on goal, and then to have people like participate in the market, probably. I think it's just like it's different capital, and it's for like a different segment of like outcomes, frankly.
Great question, great answer, and also great audio, Oxy. Absolutely love it when people step up and got that crisp audio. That's what Legendary sent me a little message in the private chat. Legendary, do you want to touch on your trade here with ALON before we get into the really, really big headlines. I know we keep saying it, some big stuff happening, but little detour here.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, ALON is the founder or the co-founder of Pump.fun, and there's been a token in his name around for quite a while, which was basically doing nothing. And I think ALON also came out to explain some of the steps that happened, including him taking over the Telegram a couple months ago, also having that post, which we mentioned as part of the Web3 Roundup, where he said, for avoidance of any doubt, the above, which was a post referencing exactly this token, is the canonical ALON coin, so the original one, the OG one, to put it in other terms, which also hasn't really moved the price. But yesterday there was a more straightforward question of someone having the CA posted and asking him, is this your official token? And he answered that with yes, which basically instantaneously sent the token from the 1-2 mil range that it was trading at to more than 200 mil within half an hour. Has now corrected down to $46 million. Quite some prominent trades that surfaced on that, including Lux on Chain had someone who bought the token, I don't know, like half a year ago, held it, realized 3-ish million in profits. Frank himself, that was quite the debate on the timeline as well. As soon as this confirmation went live, within 90 seconds is the number that has been going around. He bought it back, which he turned into $1 million profit with that. And the volume on that thing was obviously insane. But the thing that was really interesting is what also happened after it, which is that was a night where mini metas kept rotating throughout the night of that insane volume. After that, we had the hunt going on for what's the oldest token, what's the first one launched on Pump Fun. And there was like so much capital and so many runners moving around, which was pretty insane to see. And I think it kind of is going to that point that we mentioned yesterday with Trump having his own coin and also setting precedents for someone like Garga to come out and be comfortable to say, look, we're going to reward other deeds holder. We're going to reward that ecosystem this year now that the regulation seems to be more clear, more crypto friendly, which then also means that some people are more brave to come out and say, yeah, that's my token. Or yeah, I'm gonna do this. We're gonna launch this token, which they couldn't have imagined to do before. And finally, connecting that back to what you said, Brett, before, into Oxy's question, because the velocity is like increasing even more and more and more. Like you would think that, founder of Pump Fund having his own official coin, that thing surely holds above above 100 mil, goes to $1 billion. Nonetheless, went down to 46 mil, which is still insane compared to the price 2 days ago, but ultimately also corrected down 75% from its all-time high. And the velocity at which metas then rotate will make it pretty hard for humans to be able to keep up once you have an AI that can scan which tokens are launched, because there's so many of them, scan the news, scan the wallets who are behind that, and then arrive to a very, very fast decision whether that's a buy or not.
This is a secondary effect of the wealth effects of Trump coin, by the way. Not only like the actual like leniency like of just the climate of people being okay saying these things, but also like a lot of people got that Trump coin. A lot of people within the ecosystem that have a higher risk profile made a lot of money on the Trump stuff because a lot of outside capital came in, got that. And then now that hot ball of money just increased because people from outside of our industry came in, poured money, and it's generally just like a higher magnitude wealth effect event of the ecosystem, similar to like the Jupiter drop, right? Jupiter team puts all this energy into this stuff. They build out this thing. A lot of outside capital investors, whatever, come in, gives people a lot of money. That money finds its way throughout the ecosystem. The ecosystem as a whole gets more volatile, more aggressive, more wealthy, frankly. And a lot of these people are going to overtrade with a lot of that money they made on Trump and in stuff like this.
Yeah, great points. I don't have much more to add there. Just definitely noticing the speed at which these things are moving is very, very fast. There's something seems to be new literally every single day at the moment. So just be aware. The chairs, the game of musical chairs is speeding up, I think. So just be aware of that. Right, let's get into it. I think what we'll do, we've got like 22 minutes left of the show. We've got a lot of interesting stuff to explain and dive into from a very important 24 hours in news. Legendary, do you want to tie together the
Yep. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, tie them together.
Let's do it. First piece of news, very, very significant. Market has waited for that for a long time, which means a couple of days, because it's only been 4 days that Trump has been inaugurated. And it is the executive order that is finally dealing with crypto. It's pretty extensive. It's pretty broad. There's some super positive things in there. There's some things in there that have sparked discussion / disappointed the market / proved Stats, who's with us on stage, right, who has been making a very, very specific claim for months, and it seems to go into the direction, but we'll get into all of that in a second. So first of all, and I'm sharing this on screen, we have the first section of the executive order that talks to some of the points that are important in there, which is promoting the sovereignty of the United States dollar, including, that's the interesting part, through actions to promote the development and growth of lawful and legitimate dollar-backed stablecoins worldwide, so directly going for USD stablecoin dominance. Then the part on fair and open access to banking service that we've also mentioned from a crypto perspective, the very important section to provide regulatory clarity and certainty built on technology-neutral regulations and frameworks. Then the thing that you also have mentioned as part of the news overview at the start of the show, to protect Americans from the risks of central bank digital currencies. Goes on with a couple of definitions, what blockchain is, revoking previous orders. And then we get to the really interesting part, which is the working group that is to be set up. And that working group has a couple of goals, one of which is that within 180 days of this order, the working group shall submit a report to the president, which shall recommend regulatory proposals that advance the policies established in this order, focusing on a regulatory framework and focusing on the potential creation and maintenance of a national digital asset stockpile and proposed criteria for establishing such a stockpile, potentially, that's the important part, derived from cryptocurrencies lawfully seized by the federal government through its law enforcement efforts. And this is exactly where I'm going to tie it in with what Stats has been saying publicly, also saying on the show for quite a while, that basically when Trump first started to talk about the Bitcoin reserve, the strategic reserve, to make the point that this is what the government has already been doing. They have been seizing cryptocurrencies. They've been holding them. So it's just basically a more sophisticated way to say we are maintaining the status quo. And this is also how some people have been reading this, including Jano from the co-founder of Blockworks, who's been saying that additionally, the keyword here is stockpile, not reserve. They would have said reserve if they were buying. Stockpile probably means commitment to not sell existing coins. Existing coins equals mostly, oops, I'm not sharing this on screen, I'm sorry. Equaling mostly BTC and ETH with some BNB and stables. Now, the other perspective to that is, and that ties it in with the second piece of news, that Senator Loomis is now chairing the Historic Senate panel on digital assets. And as part of basically this press release of her heading the subcommittee, she clearly speaks about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. There, the reserve wording is being used again, as well as passing bipartisan digital asset legislation that promotes responsible innovation and protects consumers, including market structure stablecoins, and the point that I just mentioned, the strategic Bitcoin reserve. So there is quite the discussion going on. What's a stockpile? What's a reserve? Is it just derived from assets that the government has seized, or will there still be an option in the future to actively or proactively buy cryptocurrencies? We've also seen the markets react to that with a bit of a dump, which, because BTC was a bit higher than that, I think it was 106, almost 107K, then dumped from that. So quite some good things in there. Again, a bit of skepticism to that executive order, and the key takeaway, the discussion of how will this reserve actually look like, and will it buy, or will it just maintain, quote unquote, just maintain the status quo?
Love it. Outstanding summary. I've only got one thing to add before I'd love to bring Stats into this conversation, who you've referenced a couple of times, just for his thoughts, and also Funky, who's got his hand raised, our resident Bitcoin expert. The only other thing I'd add is there was also an interview that went out yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw it, with crypto and AI czar David Sachs talking fairly eloquently, to be fair, about crypto NFTs and meme coins, broadly just saying that, this stuff needs regulation, talking about American companies in general needing just some clarity, all things that I think the arguments we're relatively familiar with. But I guess the headline coming out of it was how he spoke about NFTs and meme coins as collectibles. And actually, I don't think this has necessarily been picked up, but I watched the full, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes or something. He was asked directly what he thought of Trump's coin. And he said, basically, don't have a problem with it because it's a collectible. So that's one of the phrase, like we all, like in our universe, think of NFTs as collectibles. But I guess if you think about it, I'm not saying I agree or disagree in some way, because like I actually do, like meme coins in reality operate in a different bucket to NFTs, I think. However, maybe if someone coming from a collector mindset, like when I was a kid, I used to collect coins, right? Maybe some people, and maybe this is an argument that people are going to make. It's like, you used to collect like a coin with Caesar on it, or I used to collect like rare coins with the queen on. Like if they every now and again the people will mint rare ones, the royal mint. So I used to like collecting coins. I don't know if that's the argument that people are going to make for meme coins. I don't know if that's how things actually operate in reality when it comes to meme coins. So I don't think people have that attachment to it. Brett, what do you think?
I think Clout should rename their application to Coins. Done. I just renovated PMF. I just found it for them. Now you're launching collectibles in your name, your digital coin representation.
And if people would like to collect their part of you or a part of you, that is how they would do it. Interesting. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. I thought that was like an interesting way to group meme coins with NFTs, whereas I think when we're in this space, we kind of see them, well, we definitely see them differently, I think. So interesting to hear that distinction. Funky, going straight to you with your hand raised. We'd love to bring stats into the conversation too straight after. Funky, welcome to the stage, my friend. What are your thoughts?
Jam fam, yeah. First and foremost, I will order a Roadcaster because I know I'm talking to my AirPods and I gotta have that crisp audio now. But in terms of all this, yes, I mean, I will just continue to say this. People need, if you're a company and you are in America, you absolutely need to be part of Blockchain Association. All this alpha gets leaked in the Signal chat days ahead of time. Like I was telling people earlier in the week, just chill. The executive order's coming. The stockpile versus reserve thing, I think, is not surprising in the least, as Stat has talked about. And then also, that's what Cynthia Loomis's bill says. You start off with what we already have. And then you go and sell gold to actually like acquire more Bitcoin. And I would rather see, as I said at the end of last week, this to happen legislatively rather than through an executive order, because the law is going to be just much more sticky compared to an executive order. And even just in the Blockchain Association chat last night, they were talking about how immediately that group was reached out to ask for information and weigh in on who's going to be on that council. So this group has a lot of influence. It's where I get a lot of my sort of alpha, if you will, on what's going to happen at the national level. And I just continue to praise them for their involvement. And it's something that I think people, just the broader trend of the market, and Stats would probably agree with this too. I'm sure you guys do too, just how immature crypto is and the CT timeline, where people react just instantly, knowing that these big things are going to take months to bear out, sometimes maybe even years when you think about it on a long enough timeline. And I do wonder, and I can't help think about this in the back of my head, with Ross being freed, how much Bitcoin did they seize from him, for instance, or Silk Road? Now, I'm not saying that they should like reinstitute all of it, but should he get some back? I don't know. That's just an interesting conversation to have. But, I still think it's generally bullish for the entire industry that we're going to start. It's a clear signal to other nation states of, hey, we're going to keep ours. What are you going to do? Your move. I'm just, really bullish about this whole thing. And I think this is only going to continue throughout the year.
Interesting take. Always appreciate it, Funk. The one thing that I think, I want to go to Stats to bring him into this in just a second. The one big flaw or hole in all of this is that if there begins to be some legislative process where everyone, you signal to the whole world that this is what you're going to do, like it's just going to run the price up so much, right? Like in an ideal world, realistically, you should be doing this covertly. Like that's what other, in an ideal world, you do this covertly. You don't tell everyone that you're going to do it. And then begin some long process, and slowly, it becomes more and more obvious to people, and every single person in the whole world and every other government that might circumvent the process just like front runs you. That's one thought. I thought, but would love to go to Stats to maybe round this topic off. Stats, welcome to the stage, my friend. How are you doing? And what are your thoughts on all this kind of package of news coming out with the executive order?
What's up, guys? Look, I mean, Bitcoin rallied 50% since October 31st until the inauguration, and it's basically flat to down since the inauguration. So I think what's happening here is there were huge expectations about this presidency, which were clear in the price. I think there was a big sentiment that it would, not big sentiment, but there, Legendary discussed this as well. There was some sentiment that the price would go down once the inauguration happened, and I think he delivered sufficient, enough stuff to keep the price kind of where it is. At which, after a 50% rally in Bitcoin, it's like 69,000 on October 31st. Since the election, that's pretty. I think this met expectations, and it was buy the rumor, hold the news. I guess something like that. I think there's an interesting tweet from Senator Loomis where she said, in order to get any of this done, we're going to need a majority of the House and a majority of Senate. So it's not, as Funky said, this has to go through a legislative process. This isn't about like who's front running who. It's just about going through the legislative appropriate process. And it's not like, we do have a system where yes, there are a lot of executive orders, but it is not, we don't live in a monarchy, and you do need to actually go through kind of the traditional process for some things. And I think that's, that's what's happening here. Now, to get a majority of the House and the Senate, you don't need a single Democrat vote. And I think that will be very doable. But I don't know. I don't know how much dissension there is within the Republican Party. And by dissension, all you need is, 3 to 5% of people to disagree for it to become an issue. But as I'm just not really sure where the parties actually stand on this stuff. I did think, I will say, B-Check, you're comparing an old limited edition collectible coin with unicorn fart dust is one of the more hand-wavy things I've heard before. So I will give you props for somehow making that bridge. I think that the idea of meme coins, I tweeted this morning, what meme coins are we collecting today? I do ridiculous classification for meme coins. They're speculative assets. Like I just think they're I just would not associate them with collectibles. I think David Sachs can't say anything even remotely negative about Trump. So that was kind of the way he zigzagged out of that. But those are just some thoughts.
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to with some imagination there, make the connection.
As much as we got good vibes for Cynthia Loomis, I thought her side eyes, big news coming at 10 a.m. Wait for it. Full posted her own promotion. I thought that was some BS, man. That was just some amateur hour. I said it reminded me. I'm not gonna say who it reminded me of, but that was some amateur hour stuff. And I think she just wasn't appreciative of the power of a tweet that she has on moving a multi-trillion-dollar market. It was so weird. It was like the type, if a CEO said big news coming before an acquisition, it's just like, what are you doing? Just do the announcement. Like, don't do this NFT founder stuff.
I think we've spoken about this before, Stats, or we've definitely commented before where I think people, I mean, I know they're not supposed to do it, but once they realize that they can do that, there's some type of power in just being able to tweet something cryptic or mysterious, and like,
you're a government official. You're not in the speculation game. Like, act like it.
I know. Very, very fair points. But I like the analogy to the founders. The only thing that was missing
is a hell of a drug.
The rolling eye emoji. Indeed. Okay, look, Funk, I know you got your hand raised again, but we want to touch on the final headline. I think we've rolled it in, rolled up all the executive order stuff as best we can today. Brad, I want to go to you for 5 minutes on the ETH stuff, and then probably want to just do a couple of minutes on the mint that is live. If you are just tuning in, we've been speaking about our first NFT mint, which is live. It's pinned in the comments above. Sorry, in the, what's it called? It's not in the comments.
In Spaces?
in the nest,
into the top in the spaces. It's a known FOMO mint. It's an open edition. There's going to be more, so you don't necessarily need to mint 100 like Legendary just did. But you can, just mint one, and then there's going to be another one next week. We've got a top founder coming on the show next week, so we're going to mint one for them. Got a top founder coming on the show the week after that, so we'll mint one for them as well. It's going to be a routine thing, bit of on-chain community building. We're going to see where it goes, and we hope you enjoy that. So that's pinned up top if you want to mint. But Brad, you're going to take us through the Ethereum news, which is pretty important as well, I think.
Yeah, so this one's about a Vitalik post that just came out. So he just did a blog post, and it basically just boils down to like a recap of the ecosystem and then a call for how Ethereum proceeds forward. Two major questions. One is like the technical side, scaling, and the other is value accrual of the ETH asset, because that's obviously been the thing that's been a big question in the last, X months, as ETH has gone largely sideways while everything else is run. And it boils down to two things. One, he's like, they're happy on the social side because you've enabled a bunch of wild, crazy things from, a Sony L2 to a bunch of these L2s that are now starting to up their scalability, or not scalability, but the security by going through stage 1, stage 2, etc. Yep, Sony's become a chain. So basically that the social side is working well because they have a bunch of teams doing a bunch of their own unique deployments of the Ethereum L2s, right? Growing their protocol, contributing to ZK, contributing to cryptography, like all this stuff. Very successful, but it hasn't necessarily led to value accrual for ETH, the asset. So down a little bit, you'll see they talk about a section of just like, how do we drive value? It's a four bullet parts just below this. Yeah, there you go. Actually, a little bit more. And he's like, okay, so we need a plan for value accrual to the ETH asset. How are we going to do that? One is like try to have this social consensus of trying to cement ETH as the primary asset for greater L1 plus L2 Ethereum economy. Two, L2s need to support ETH with some percentage of their fees. That's been, there you go, this section here. This has been the big push against the Ethereum scaling roadmap, right? Because you have Base coming along and eating up all the execution. Execution for the non-nerds amongst us is just like, they're the ones that interact with users, right? They're the ones that transact, that the user's transactions are submitted to. It's Base. The sequencer collects, a lot of fees, tens of millions of dollars to this point. And of that tens of millions of dollars paid in user fees, only shekels go back to Ethereum mainnet, right? In the way of burn. And that is usually like, when I say shekels, I'm talking like 5% roughly if you're running one of these things. So if Base, the L2, generates $100 million worth of revenue being fees from the sequencer, they may give, 3 million back to Ethereum by way of burn, like posting down to Ethereum, and then like 8 million to the OP collective, which is the OP stacks like collective governance token. And people were just saying like, okay, well, how? And then like the rest of it goes to Coinbase. It's like, 85 million goes to Coinbase. The rest of it goes to OP stack, and then shekels go back to, yeah, right. It's a great business, right? It's awesome. But it's not great for Ethereum, the asset. It's a little messy, right? Even though they use ETH as money, as a medium of exchange on the thing, that doesn't necessarily lead to value accrual there. So he's calling for that. And then the other point here was just like, okay, Ethereum needs to continue to scale, but whenever he talks about scaling Ethereum, he's talking more about continuing to enable L2s through blob scaling. So it's like he wants to increase the block size and a little bit of the throughput, just to like reduce block times, increase the gas limit, all this stuff. That'll make like operating on the L1 as a user better. But he's calling for blob count aggressive scaling, because as you scale that, you will allow for entities like Base to continue to scale and not increase user fees. So you want them to be able to take on more and more users so that they can use ETH as money. That's the buzzword, like medium exchange, whatever, to give value back to ETH, and then call for these L2s to like, okay, you've been earning a lot of fees. We need to have you guys like pay tithings, frankly, back to Ethereum outside of their posting costs down to Ethereum. The thing is that the social construct, right? It's like Ethereum cannot impose that directly on L2s like programmatically. So it's going to have to be kind of an off-chain agreement by these L2s to do this thing, and then social alignment that these things actually do it. So that's the headwind.
Interesting. So just to clarify, Brad, there's no technical way for them to impose that essentially is like an additional tax. It's like, look, guys, we set this up in this particular way, but we've now realized that the incentives
it's
are
a
too
permissionless
skewed in
system.
your favor.
Yeah.
And so we need to come to some type of agreement off chain for you to contribute, because ultimately you are using our shared security. You are part of the network, but we're not seeing enough back, and it's not working out for the whole ecosystem as a consequence.
Correct. Yeah. If Ethereum is going to be the thing that secures all of these L2s through economic security, it behooves the L2s to drive value back to Ethereum, right? Because that's the thing that's giving them value. So yes, it's a permissionless system. I can do the exact same thing that Base is doing, for instance, and I can just pay the posting costs, and I can say, fuck you, I don't want to do the rest of the things that you want me to do. And then I will be the unaligned one, and I will be making more money. But like socially, we should, go against that and say, encourage people not to use it. It's not a pure L2, whatever. All alignment kind of is the meme. But yeah, you can't force people to do it. It's just like the OP, the Optimism Collective stuff that they're collecting. That's an off-chain thing, right? Base does not structurally send this stuff over with code to OP whenever it generates fees. It has an agreement with them between OP and between Coinbase, the entity. And because of that, whenever they earn their fees, they send in a month some shekels over to OP Collective.
I love it. Excellent explanation. Really appreciate that explanation and insight there, Brad, on ETH's development. But we're coming towards the close of the show. Had a lot of important news there, a lot of excellent analysis as usual. Just a reminder, friends, maybe I want to go to Legendary as well on this. Ledge, well, I've already mentioned it. What do you like? Our first mint is out. It's an NFT. It's on Base. It's $2. There's going to be one per week. You're sharing it on screen. Thanks so much. 200, I think, have been minted so far. What the concept is, we're going to put on chain all of the top interviews that we do with the best founders. This one was from a few weeks ago when we had the pleasure of talking to Bing, who's the co-founder of MegaETH. And this is a new series that we're doing called Founding Crypto, where we speak to some of the best founders in the space who are building the future of crypto. So one per week, $2 a time, building an on-chain community. We're very, very excited about that. A lot of work has gone into that, as well as a lot of work just goes into what we do every single day, trying to bring you the best information possible. So if you do enjoy it in any way, please do consider giving us a mint, joining us in the on-chain community on a routine basis, not just today, but over time as we continue to build out this new show in a way. Ledge, final, some thoughts from you on the mint.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I said it. We've been live with the modern market for today, 430 episodes, have created a footprint on X, have created a footprint with our audience, with the people and partners we work with, but haven't yet created an on-chain footprint. And I told you honestly, and I said it on the show, I was skeptical at first because I was like, NFT collection, is this something that people will buy to speculate on? How will this play out? And we took quite a long time because I think this idea has existed for quite a while, to think about how we can do that in a nice, exactly collectible way, talking about the collectibles today, and having this option to go with an open edition that, as it says on the website, is available forever, that's priced at $2, is clearly this structure to not be FOMO inducing and to just be a collectible for people who want to collect it. And for us, the interesting part of that is obviously that we have an on-chain community to look at. For me, it's going to be interesting to see who some of the people are who are minting this and to see how this evolves. It's an interesting stat to collect aside from the more legacy stats that we've been collecting, as obviously the fact that right now, for example, we have 1,750 people watching the video live. We have 160 in the space, which is almost 2K people, which is an insane number. But it is a Web 2 media number, and we didn't have the Web 3 component to it. And we do want to be able to kind of build this on-chain community. So that's a bit of the thought process, just from a conceptual side. I think this week we also talked about the design. You shared that as a part of the publish and profit segment, because there a lot of thinking went into this as well. But I feel like I'm very, very happy with how we managed to bring this one to life.
I like it. Yeah, me too, man. Really, really excited about it. As always, just wanted to say thank you for everyone who has been joining us up to this point. It does feel like it's a bit of a shift, not a shift like away from anything that we've been doing, but just like the next step for how we're going to be building out a lot of things moving forward. We've got some interesting other announcements to come, some other interesting partnerships, as well as some more plans. We keep going, we keep moving forward, and we just wanted to say thank you for joining us on the journey as always. Guys, that's our show today. Just a reminder, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour. So we will be back with you again next week on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care, and we'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.